Slime.
Excellent. I wrote a book some years ago called Why Do Some Dream of Success While Others Wake Up to Achieve It? And in that book, one of the things that I have itemized there is that a lot of people say that, oh, things are tough, there is no money and all that. But the truth is, there has never been a money problem. Please tell the person next to you there is no money problem. And I'm going to prove that to you, okay? I'm going to prove that to you. Now, what do you see here? They're mechanics, okay? They're mechanics fixing a car, okay? All right, these are in Lagos mechanic at the side of the car. And one very interesting thing is, what is the difference between a mechanic and a mechanical engineer? No, for real. What's the difference between a mechanic and a mechanical engineer?
Yes, an engineer sounds more advanced.
Okay. Now, yeah? One is a hustler. Now, if you have a problem with your car, okay? You're driving, you have a problem with your car. Who would you take your car to? A mechanic or a mechanical engineer? You will take yours to a mechanical engineer.
Engineer, the general word.
Okay. All right. Let's break it down. The facts of life. Okay? And one of the facts of life is that being skilled does not mean you're ready. And being skilled does not mean you are going to be successful. Practice gives you skill. Alright? And this is so important. A lot of people have graduated from the four walls of the university thinking they are ready. Alright? But they get out there and suddenly realize that the world is so hostile. In fact, I have a friend, my first cousin actually, in America, who tried to step out, saw the hostility of the world, and went back to school quickly. And he has been studying ever since. One master. I am so serious. One master's after the other. Right now, I think he has 3 masters and a PhD. The guy just cannot face the world. And I said, my goodness, this is so true. Yet he has so much information, and that's the difference. You see, the mechanical engineer may have the information, but if he does not have the skill, if he does not have the practice, he will be no better than somebody who doesn't know anything about cars, isn't it? All right, so practice gives you the skill. Humility opens the door for practice. Now, humility and youth sometimes seem to be mutually exclusive, but we can bring them together, okay? Let me give you an example. There's a young person I wanted to give a platform some years ago, because I love young people. I love to give young people platforms. I remember as a young person knocking on doors, and people would ask me, well, where have you worked, who have you worked for before as a consultant? And there was nobody, and I'm thinking, duh, if you don't give me some work now, how will I have something to put on my CV? So I love to do that, but there was this young person I brought in, and he said, I wanted to help me. And next day, on what I was doing was I said, you just come with me, I'm going to introduce you to people, and before I speak, just talk about yourself. And then she sent me a huge invoice. Did you hear what I said? So I laughed like that. Oh my goodness. And that leads to the next thing, Never let the driving force be money. Let me tell you how I got started. I'm knocked on doors and nobody wanted me. Nobody wanted to give me an opportunity. So I decided, I said, you know what? I am so good at what I do, the budget will ultimately show up. So I began to work for, this was in Nigeria, I worked for one of the biggest financial institutions there. And I was doing this for free. Now, let me tell you how I knew things began to change. I'd been put in some very back office where nobody knew I existed. But after a while, the MD wanted me closer. Then on Mondays, the MD would call me and I'll be the first meeting. You know, the first person the MD would meet with. And say, so, how are things going? How are we doing? Blah, blah. Next day, I was given a computer. Next day, I was given an official car. And there's no budget, remember? So at that time, when the car came, and when the MD now increased frequency of seeing Wale from once a week to 3 times a week, I knew it was time to go. So, yeah, because there was no budget. Remember? No budget. So I said, I think it's time for me to, oh, no. What package do you want? Suddenly, the budget showed up. And then that time, Wale had attitude. And Wale said, you can't afford me. I hear it. But the budget will show up. And what I realized is this. Money always follows value. Always. 24/7 follows value. And that means the more value you create in yourself, or the value you create in yourself, will determine the value you attract to yourself. Alright? Because I have spent time, I have spent years creating value in myself. And how did I begin to create this value in myself? Oh my goodness, I began to read like books were going out of fashion. I read 5 books a month. And this is besides the magazines, the forums, and all those. And this is besides watching Bloomberg to see how things are going. Because, you see, my clients, people like Barclays, would not have me here if I was in. You understand what I'm saying? The only reason I keep getting work is because they know that if you call Wale, it is not straw inside his head. You understand what I'm saying? He's got something there. Alright? So, it is so important. The value you create in yourself will determine the value you attract to yourself. And I've always said, young people, stop looking for people to do you favors. Create value. And what you would have received as a favor will now become a right. Alright? So, create the value. Alright? And nobody can do it for you. When you create value, it will speak for itself. Okay? Nobody's going to do this for you. And whether you are in formal employment or you are doing stuff for yourself, it is so important. What will determine the value that comes to you is the value you have built in yourself. Believe it or not, there was a time I paid people to come and listen to me. Because nobody knew what I could do. You understand what I'm saying? And then I was that guy who was like a charity. I was always sitting down with companies, helping them to structure, helping them to strategize, and do that. And when I finish, they say, thank you very much. And I say, amen. But you know, today things have changed, all right? Now let's go on. Fake it till you make it is an illusion. Because the truth will ultimately come out. I hear you. The truth ultimately comes out. So, don't fake it. Don't start from the outside. Are you hearing me? Start from substance. Build substance on the inside. So that whatever happens on the outside is a reflection of the substance you have built on the inside. You know, we have a lot of people that they look like they have substance. But when they are faced with real life situations, then we will know if they have substance or not. Alright? And I'm going to talk more about that in a short while. Now, every dream has a demand. Every single dream has a demand. No matter what you want to be today. I had a dream to be a consultant for multinationals. Why? Because when you work for broke people, it's a problem getting paid. Do you understand what I'm saying? I wanted to work for multinationals. When I put on my profile, Barclays, that is sellable anywhere in the world, isn't it? When I put on my profile, Google, Oracle, that's sellable anywhere in the world. When I put the United Nations, that's sellable anywhere in the world. And hello, those are my clients. But it was a dream, but every dream has a demand. And part of the demand of my dream was I had to build myself. I had to develop myself. I don't have much of a social life, and I'll tell you about that later. I don't have much of that because I have to be correct. I have to look. When you work for a company like Google, they give us all the information. Then you go there and say something that's not true. You work for UNDP, they give us the World Book on Statistics, World Development Report, and you go say something that doesn't make sense. Alright, so I had to build the demand. Every dream has a demand, I had to fulfill that. Okay? And the bridge between the dream and actualization is capacity. Capacity is one of my favorite words in the English language, and I'm going to talk to you about capacity right now. Are you ready? Yes. Tell your neighbor, fasten your seatbelts. Now, what is that? What car is that? It's a Bugatti. And I've not seen one on Kenya roads yet, okay? But this may encourage you. There are quite a few of Nigeria. Okay? Now, this is $2.5 million. Only. Before tax. Okay, now let's look at this. Now that car is expensive, isn't it? But if your name is Bill Gates, let's break it down. Then you have a net worth of about $86 million there about. You will buy 34,400 Bugattis. And that is 0.003% of your wealth. It's like having $1 million and spending 2,900 on a car. Is that expensive? Thank you very much. So, are you ready? Yes. It's never about the price. It's always about capacity. Stop telling me something is expensive. Go and know your capacity. How many of you know things that at one point in time we thought were very expensive? Yes. And then suddenly you can buy it without thinking. Yes. What happened? Capacity. And this is where you need to focus your attention. I tell my clients they have sales targets and all that. Sales targets, it's never about the target, it's about the capacity. Whatever output you want, if you are ready to build your capacity, you'll get it. It's always about the capacity. Okay? Now, let's look at some dynamics of capacity. But I want you to read what I'm going to put there. I want you to read it at the top of your voice. Are you ready? 1, 2, go.
You can become anything you want to be in life and achieve anything you want to achieve. If you are ready to pay the price to build your capacity for the dream.
You know what a lot of people do? That's why I wrote this book, Why Do Some Dream of Success? While others wake up to achieve it. The difference is in capacity. For how long will you dream? And that's my problem. I was speaking to somebody the other day. I said, my problem with Africa is since I was a little boy, they've been telling us about potential. We should be the generation that will move from potential and see the dream. The African dream. Okay? So let's look at these dynamics. Now, I want you to look at this. This is really, really scary. This was really the Great Depression in the 30s. Look at that. Billions lost, people lining up for food, for work. Throwing themselves out of buildings, committing suicide. 12 million people were out of work in a year. 12,000 people being made unemployed every day. 20,000 companies went bankrupt. 1,616 banks went bankrupt. One farmer in 20 evicted, and 23,000 people committed suicide in 1 year. And what did they blame it on? The economy. Isn't it? And, you know, it sounds justified, doesn't it? The economy was bad, so, okay. During the same period, how many of you know Walt Disney? Walt Disney was formed during the Depression. Hewlett Packard was started during the Depression. Sheraton Hotels was formed during the Depression. Duracell batteries during the Depression. And my favorite, KFC, was also formed during the Depression. So, wait a minute, there's something here. All these companies were started during the Great Depression. It's not the economy. What is it? You know, we can find excuses. Excuses are cheap. They're everywhere. Alright? But if we develop our capacity, we will make those excuses irrelevant. You know, it looks difficult, but it's never, look, if you build capacity for it, what looks difficult here, somebody else considers it as fun. Isn't it? Alright, now let me explain. I told you about why Nigerians make noise. That's a 1 kVA generator. Now let's put that in perspective. A 1 kVA generator, you put a few light bulbs, but you try to put your iron, then it's going to just give up on you. Okay? Now, then you can have a 5 kVA generator, you can do your ironing, but if you try to plug too many things, some air conditioners, and it will give up on you, isn't it? Now, this is a big one. 25 kVA, put up all the air conditioners, all the conditioners you want, and all that, big one. Then, at this point, 100 kVA, you are a local government chairman. You understand what I'm saying? You can power the whole street. Now, the interesting thing is, all of them produce electricity, but their output is a function of capacity. So your output is a function of capacity. Alright? Now, capacity is never about cuteness. I remember my daughter was giving a speech one day, and I listened to her. My daughter said something so profound. She said, what's the point in being cute and dumb? And I said, wow, that is so cool. What is the point in being cute and dumb? You know? Because I would rather work with somebody who's not cute, but has capacity. That's not going down too well. And the back is going down well. In front here is not going down too well. But you know, the ultimate is to be cute and have capacity. And that's what we have in front here. Somebody say amen. Alright, you know, I don't want to be fired, okay? So you must know where the power lies, okay? Capacity is always about your ability to deliver, not your ability to say you can deliver. You know there are two different things, alright? Then capacity building is an inside job, and you cannot fake it. If you have it, it will show. If you don't have it, it will show. Alright? So, let me show you a picture. Are you ready? Look at this. This guy is talking to that horse and saying, oh honey, oh sweetie. But the truth is this. No amount of motivation can cause a horse to fly. Because the horse does not have the capacity to fly. If you do not have capacity, no amount of motivation can take you to the next level. You just become a motivated mumu. You understand what I'm saying? You don't know what a mumu is? Oh, they don't know what a mumu is. Alright, let me explain what a mumu is. And what I promise you, once you know what a mumu is, it will be part of your vocabulary for the rest of your life. A few definitions. A mumu is a person whose reasoning faculty is in a state of suspended animation. What does that mean? The human being is here, the brain is here, there's no connection. That means if they did not have a brain, they won't miss anything. You know, a mumu is somebody who thinks accidentally. A mumu is somebody who thinks they are thinking, but just rotating ignorance around their head. Lift up your right hand and say, I refuse to be a mumu. I refuse to be a mumu. Tell the person sitting next to you, I'm so glad you're not a mumu. And ask the other person, say, oh, are you? of Apple. Apple was founded by Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne. But when things were not going too well, Apple wanted to move to the next level. And this guy just freaked out, so he sold his 10% stake for $2,300. And Apple is now worth about $700 billion. Now I just think of it, can you imagine if you're his children or his grandchildren? And you know that my grandfather was one of the biggest mumus of all time. Now let me just give you some context. Apple is bigger than the entire United States interstate system. Apple is bigger than the entire United States aircraft carrier fleet, the entire global coffee industry, the economy of... Now this is so cool. I'm going to show you this. Apple is bigger than the value of all Russian publicly traded companies combined. Now, if Apple were a nation, let's look at this. If Apple were a country, how would Apple run? Now, let's look at that. United States, 17 trillion, and so on and so on. We go down. Apple would be just after Saudi Arabia, with a market cap of $710 billion. Now, let's look at the countries that Apple's economy is bigger than. And I will just start with the top ones. Nigeria, Sweden, and already Thailand. Now, okay. In 2015, Apple sold 232 million iPhones. Let's put that in context. Now, I love context. This means they sold 695,616 phones a day. Now, you know I like context. So put that in context. According to UNICEF, 353,000 babies. So more iPhones are sold every day than babies are born. Okay? Now, don't forget why we went into this discussion on Apple. Remember our move? Alright, now, let's go. So how did Ronald Wayne miss it? How did he miss it? And that's the big question. What was, I keep asking, what was going on in this dude's head? Okay? What was going on there? Was it fear? Was it fear? Was it short-sightedness? It could be all of the above, but I believe he did not have the capacity for the next level. Alright? So, you see the importance of capacity? And how? Alright? By making sure you are always learning. And then you must build your practical capacity by making sure, alright, by making sure you are putting what you learn into practice. That's where I started from. You see, accumulation of information is knowledge. But application of information is wisdom. And that's so important, okay? Now let's go on. So the bridge between where you are and where you want to be is capacity. All right. Now, capacity increases your options. So the more capacity you build, whether you're working for yourself, you're going with, it increases your options. You are not confined to a place. You know, there was a time I just wanted to find out how sellable I was. And I just put up a CV out there, and within 24 hours I got a job offer in New York, I got a job offer in Germany, I got job offers all over the world. And I said, thanks, but no thanks. All right? But that's something good to do. So it increases your options. All right. Now, I want you to read this out really loud. 1, 2, go.
Self-employment is a viable employment option.
It is, and I want to talk about that because some people are scared. And the way to go about that, the first thing people are, what can I do? A lot of young people get out of school, they have their degrees, and they're saying, what can I do? And so let me help you in a very practical way. Make a list of all the things you can do, and I'll show you how I did for myself. Just making a list of all the things I can do. Let me show you that. I can talk. My mother said I talk too much. You know, it's unfortunate she's dead now. I said, I get paid to talk. You understand? So when my son was talking, and my wife said, you talk too much. I said, be careful. Talking has given you the lifestyle you have, so you better be careful. I talk, I read, I write. I love to plan and strategize. I love to ask questions. I'm inquisitive. So these are all the things I can do. I can play the keyboard. I'm the baddest keyboardist you ever saw. You understand what I'm saying? That's putting it modestly. I write songs. So you write down everything like that. Is that okay? Then the next thing you do, ability, possibility. You see all those things that I wrote down. I now look at what can I do with them. So I can read and research. What can I do? I can be a teacher, a researcher, a consultant. I can go to publishing. Talking, what can I do? I can be an MC. I can be a talk show host. I can be a public speaker. I can be a teacher. I can be a consultant. I can be a newscaster. I can be a pastor. You know, I can be a politician. It doesn't sound nice putting pastor and politician in it. Anyway, so you can be all that. So you write all the things you can do and then just think, what can I do? What are the possibilities? Okay? And this is what I did for myself. When you put the possibilities, then that's what I call the lowest level of information or implementation. Because every concept is broken down, or what I call the easiest point of entry. Basically what I'm saying is, of all the things that I can do, what can I start without capital? Because a lot of us, the problem we had was capital. Okay? And when I put that together, now guess what? Then I break it down. So read, I can be a teacher or an editor without capital. I can offer myself for that, isn't it? Yeah. Talk, I can be an MC without capital. I tell you, what this does is that this puts you in a place where you can now compress all the things. These are all I compressed everything, and it boils down to 2 things: communication of information and music. And that's what I do today. All right? So you can break it down, and suddenly you will realize your big problem is no more, oh, I don't have capital. Oh, I don't know what to do. You will realize that, man, there are so many options. Let me share a little testimonial. There was a gentleman I shared this with many, many years ago in Nigeria. He was jobless. And you know what he did? He said, okay, he offered himself. Every parent wants the best for their children, especially in mathematics. So he offered himself as a mathematics teacher and was going from house to house. Did he need capital for that? No. He was going from house to house. I remember I said the level of value that you offer is what will determine what comes back to you, isn't it? So people loved him. They began to talk. Referrals were going out. Next thing, there were so many. He leased the top floor of a building, and people began to come to him now. And they were paying. And today, he runs a thriving school in Abuja. And it started just like this. You understand what I'm saying? All right, let's go on. This is a statement by Albert Einstein that I love. Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid. Okay? So let's now look at, now these are 2 gentlemen. Who knows who these are? Cristiano Ronaldo and Neymar. What do they have in common?
Actually, it's American.
Okay, what do they have in common? They're goal scorers, isn't it? Yes. They're strikers. Now, isn't it interesting? They shine because they are rightly placed. Now, what will happen if you put them in the goalpost to become goalkeeper? Would they still shine? No. So another thing you need to know as you go out is understand the principle of what I call the terrain. In the battle between the lion and the shark, the terrain will determine the outcome. That means if a lion gets a shark on dry land, the shark becomes a victim not because it's weak, but because it's in the wrong terrain. Alright? If the shark should get the lion in water, the lion becomes a victim not because it is weak, but because it's in the wrong terrain. Nobody was made weak. But people take up an appearance of weakness when they are in the wrong terrain. So, let me show you how you will discover your terrain also. Okay? I remember there was a lady I worked with in a company in Nigeria. She was in the research department. And her colleagues didn't like her because she talked too much. And they just didn't like her there. And they were trying to edge her out. And I said, why don't you put her in customer care, customer service? And she became employee of the month. Wow. Because the very thing that made her a problem in one place was what made her an asset in another place. No human being was made weak. People take up an appearance of weakness when they are wrongly placed. Let's look at certain things about terrain. All right, let me rush through this. I said there's a place prepared for you. Let me rush through that. People are struggling. Success in any terrain happens when there's an alignment between the individual and the terrain, and it's suicidal to compete with somebody that you see in their terrain, because when they're in their terrain, it looks very easy.
True.
Isn't it? Very, very easy. Let me give you an example of some people that, now, you know Gordon Ramsay? Believe it or not, this guy is the highest paid chef in the world. Okay? Highest paid chef in the world. And last year, he made $54 million cooking. How many of you here have a passion in cooking? So now you see what is possible. All right? Now, everybody may say, what? And this is the problem in Kenya. Everybody sees, wow, there's money in M-Pesa. Even me, I'm going to M-Pesa. There's money in this one, even me. Stop moving like a mumu up and down like that. All right? Now, Kevin Hart is the world's highest paid comedian. Okay? Now, 2015 to 2016, income $87.5 million. Now, imagine making money by making a fool of yourself. You understand what I'm saying? But you know what? It's their terrain. That's what I don't want you to miss. Bill Clinton, $450,000 per hour to talk. Okay? He said, I never had a nickel to my name until I got out of the White House. Now I'm a millionaire. All right? From talking. Tony Blair, $600,000 per hour from talking. Now there's somebody I used to like very much many years ago who made a lot of money from talking. He's gone mad now, slightly mad, but hopefully with prayers that help, maybe he will get some help. Okay. Okay? You can hear and say no, but the guy makes $1.5 million per hour talking. Okay? One company hired him for 17 speaking engagements. Why? Because when you locate your terrain is where value comes to you. Okay? Now, oh, you thought that was bad. How about dead people? Let's look at the top earning dead celebrities. You understand?
Yes.
Top earning dead celebrities. Michael Jackson, in 1 year, made $160 million as a dead man. Okay? Elvis Presley, he died 1977. Last year, in 2013, $55 million. Bob Marley, dead 1981, $18 million. Marilyn Monroe.
Cuteness.
Died 1962. Made $15 million. Now ask your neighbor, how can a dead person make more money than you? But you know what? It's not in the breed. It's not in the breed. A well-trained German Shepherd you can buy for up to $24,000. Well-trained. But, you know, an untrained one you can get here for $400. So the value is not determined by its breed. It's determined by the training capacity. Are you hearing? Yes. All right, let's wrap this up. So how are you going to do this? Number one, discover your passion. How do you discover your passion? When difficult looks easy. There are certain things that other people have gone to school and worked to learn how to do, but you can do it in your sleep. Yes or no?
Yes.
So when difficult looks easy. When it doesn't seem to go away. That thing just sticks there. And it just doesn't go away. All right? When the sight of other people doing it stirs up something and you know I can talk better than this one lady. When you get critical about the same thing over and over again, people are most likely to be critical in the area of their passion. Okay? Let me give you an example. My wife is a book editor. That girl would edit a menu in the restaurant. Do you understand what I'm saying? When we were caught, I've been married for 24 years. But she's been...
And she's cute.
And she's been my friend for over 30 years, okay? Now, that girl, those days, we did not have email, so we used to write love letters. The girl would take my letter, edit it, and show me my mistakes. You understand what I'm saying? You know, marrying is, okay. Now, when others defer to you without you asking them to do so, you know why? They have identified something in you. All right? So they defer to you. They will ask you questions in that area. And then when money is not a consideration for doing it. Like I said, if your motivation is money, you will have problems. Okay? Because it may take some time for the money to come. But if you are passion-driven, service-driven, even if the money is not there, you have so much fun doing what you're doing. Which is why at a time in my life, I paid people to listen to me. All right? Now, then another aspect, it brings out things you never knew were there. Okay? And it stretches you, gives you a platform and a voice, and takes you to a place you saw in your dreams. Let me make this so practical. The next picture I'm going to show you. We good? All right. Now look at that. Whew! That's a Gulf Stream, man. And one day, Wale will be inside a plane like that. And it will be his own.
Exactly.
And I'll fly over your house and make noise. Make noise. I call you, Carol! Hey! Did you hear that? That was me, girl. Okay, now imagine you are the pilot of this plane. You are 25 years old. And then you have former president of this, former CEO, all these big guys are in the plane. And they're all walking around and talking and chatting and laughing. And you can see that some serious turbulence is coming. So you as the pilot, you shout, I want everybody to get back to your seats, fasten your seatbelts now! What do you think all those people are going to do? Do you think anybody is going to say, how can you talk to me like that? Do you know who I am? Are they going to do that?
Quickly obey.
They will obey. Why? Because even though they are leaders, when they were stepping into the plane, they were stepping into the leadership sphere of the pilots. Every human being has a leadership sphere. So it does not matter who the person is. When you step into their area, you have to listen to what they are saying. And that happens when you have found your terrain. Is somebody hearing me? All right. So terrain can be seasonal, so that what is your terrain for today might not be your terrain in a few years. You know, it's seasonal. Some of us. How do we know when we have outgrown a terrain? There will be discontent from within. And everything on the outside might look good, but from within, there's just that, discomfort from within, no more joy, no more favor and all that, and then passion seems to develop in another area. Okay? Now, having said that, good. There's another word, however, I want you to take, be very, very aware of, is entrepreneurship. Because I do know not everybody will be an entrepreneur. There are people who will be entrepreneurs. What is the entrepreneur? The entrepreneur is somebody who can work like an entrepreneur within an already existing structure. Okay? But it still is basically the same principles. You have to be self-motivated, you have to build capacity, you have to do that. It's just that there are certain people, okay, let me just say this. There's 4 personality types. There's the hare, the hare that runs. There's the owl, okay? There's the turtle and the squirrel. We call that the HOTS, HOTS. The first personality are people who are idea generators. The hares, they always have ideas, They may not have follow through, but they have the ideas. Now, there's the owl. These are the ones who, when they hear the ideas, they are able to give you a plan. That idea you have, if you do it like this, okay? Then there is the squirrel, who is the cautious one, who is always trying to tell you what can go wrong. Now, many times the hares and the squirrels are enemies.
Yeah.
Because the hares say that these squirrels are too negative. But the squirrel is going to help you identify and think ahead of time the problems you can have. And then there is that's the turtle, sorry. Then the squirrel, the final one. The squirrel, so the hare is the idea. The owl is the one that gives you the plan. All right? The turtle is the one that looks around the curve and tells you what can go wrong. And then the squirrel has never generated an idea. But when you give the squirrel, this is the plan, they will implement it flawlessly. Every organization needs the mix. Every team needs the mix. Okay? Very, very important. And as an entrepreneur, listen, let me give you some money talks where entrepreneurship is concerned. Because the wise person learns from the mistakes of other people. The fool insists on making fool. This guy, if there was a Guinness World Record for goofy, for making mistakes, I will win the world record. So learn now. Are you hearing me? One of my biggest weaknesses in life is that I did not know how to manage money. You know why? Because I was so skilled in making money. I started my first business when I was less than 10. I have a book there. Do you students, do you buy books? I have a book called The Billionaire Within. And I talked about my story there. I've sold firewood. I've sold mangoes. I've sold all sorts of things. Because of my playing the keyboard, I played jazz. If I was broke, I just walked into a nightclub and began to jam. And I'll get a contract. Okay? Me, I have sold everything. I would go to the north of Nigeria and buy leather bags, and travel 13, 14 hours back to the south and sell. So my philosophy was, if the money finishes, I did not understand how to save, because my philosophy, if the money finishes, make more now. That was the only way I thought, but that cost me. Because I did not know how to manage money. All right, so that's why I am very passionate about teaching people. Visionary, I need to understand this. Visionaries are not always great managers. All right? So, because of that, entrepreneurs need entrepreneurs. It's a team. Okay? Money never flows into a vacuum. Never ever. So, you have to create something. Ideas. Money flows into ideas. All right? And ideas that are executed rules the world. Listen, determine the destiny of your money before it comes. If you do not know, if you do not determine where your money will come before it comes, where your money will go rather, before it comes, you will wonder where it has gone after it has gone. You begin to say, but I had. Then you begin to look for money everywhere. Is somebody hearing me? So you need to determine it. And then this is so important. I learned the hard way. Don't borrow for things that do not generate income. Every debt must be able to pay itself. Are you hearing me? It must be able to pay itself. Okay? That is so important. Now, there are certain things. Let me say this because, again, I don't want to be fired. So you want to buy this new... No, house. No, houses. I'm talking of this new car. You must settle it in your head how that car will be used to increase your profile. Do you understand what I'm saying? You must settle it in your head that, okay, if I have this kind of car, what is the impact it will have on my business?
Yes.
All right? When you have settled that, then you can go for it. Are you hearing me? Okay, now, how many more minutes do I have? Who is the timekeeper? Okay. Then, this final one. Guard your name with your life. Guard your name. I tell my children every day, the biggest hustle of your life should be the hustle to make a name, not the hustle to make money. When you have made that name will make money for you for the rest of your life. That name is what will cause people saying, we want to invest in your business. That name is what will cause people to say, you know what, we can work with you. Are you hearing me? That is so important. So, having said that, let's look at how we're going to make that name. What is that?
Peacock.
A peacock. It's beautiful, isn't it? But a peacock is it's a bird. Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a bird.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What is that?
An ostrich.
Which is also?
Bird.
So let's get this together. This is a bird.
Yes.
This is a bird.
Yes.
And then, what is that? Which is also? A bird. So all these are birds.
Yes.
Which of them would you like to keep to welcome your visitors? Imagine your visitors come and then this one welcome. So what is the interesting thing? We have looked at 3 birds, isn't it? Now guess what? A bird is as beautiful as its feathers. Isn't it? Remove the feathers from any bird and they have the same structures, basically. But it is the feathers. And when I talk about feathers, your network, the people in your life are your feathers. Look at this very interesting picture. So this guy, no legs. This guy, no hands. But they can still move from where they want to, from where they are to where they want to be, isn't it? Why? Because that is the way it's supposed to work. Your network is a great indicator of your net worth. Now, you will get to a point where you realize that no matter what you know, What will get things going for you is who knows you and what they think about you. That's why I said guard your name. Are you hearing me? Because you'll get to that phase. So how do you ensure that you have the right networks? First of all, we must realize that every single person is a brand and you are communicating something. Okay? So when you go out, when you go for the interview, let me tell you, I have sat down for interviews. People who are going to work directly with me, I want to feel them. And it doesn't take me more than 60 seconds to know if that person can work with me or not. Why? Because everybody is a brand that is transmitting something. Are you hearing me? If you've not met any, if I had enough time, I will prove to you that you can meet somebody for the first time in your life and in 30 seconds, everybody has a similar opinion about the person because of what they are transmitting. So you must be conscious of the fact that you are a brand transmitting something, and people are going to determine, people are going to relate with you based on the transmission they're getting from you. All right? Now, emotional states, that's part of what I'm talking about. How many of you have seen this? Where you're all happy, you're in a room, all happy, and then somebody comes in and everybody just goes down. You know what happened? That person brought in an emotional state. Or everybody is unhappy and then somebody shows up and everybody carries something like that. So you need to be aware of that. All right? And one way to be aware of it is watch the, and you know, it's actually something you can ask close people who can tell you the truth. When I come in, what am I transmitting? Okay? Now, but this is ultimate. You will attract your kind. Did you hear what I said? You will attract your kind. So, the first step in building your network is to build yourself to be the kind of person you want in your network. Because if you build yourself to be that kind of person, you will attract such people to you. You understand what I'm saying? Let me give you an example. One day I'm flying and it's the middle of the night and somebody wakes me up. And I'm sleeping. Somebody wakes me up. And he says, "Who are you?" How can you ask, "Who am I?" I did not get your money to fly this plane. So me, I asked, I said, "Who are you?" The guy laughed and he said, he introduced himself, he was some multi-billionaire businessman. And he said, "You just look like somebody that I know." Are you hearing me? Tell your neighbor you will attract your kinds to you. But let me give you another example. There's some networks I won't meet you in the economy. Okay? I won't say that now. Okay? One day, a friend of mine, it's her 50th birthday. So we're there with my wife. This was a few years ago. I had lived in America. I did not know who was who in Nigeria. So I just went to Nigeria. And this friend of mine, it's her 50th birthday. And I'm sitting at the table with my wife and the celebrant and her husband and two more people. And there's this guy on the next table who keeps staring at me. He keeps looking at me. So I'm looking back at him. I don't know who he is. Then he comes up to me and he says, "You look like someone I should know." Okay. So we tried. Was it in England? No. Was it in the village? No. Was it in America? No. Where could I have met this man? Then he took my hand. He said, "Anyway, it's nice meeting you. My name is Aliko Dangote." Yeah, when Dangote says you look like someone I know, I say, "You go, boy." Are you hearing me? You will attract your own kinds to you. You want faithful friends? Be faithful. You want loyal friends? Be loyal. You want friends who will go out of their way to do anything for you? Be that kind of person. Because you will attract your own kind to you. It's called the law of attraction. All right? One mistake is a lot of people look out before they look in. All right? Now, the final thing, of course, to attract the rich, send out rich signals. You understand what I'm saying? Let me tell you, you don't be that person you are in a matatu. Are you hearing me? You are in a matatu, and it's time to pay, and you have a friend there, or you have someone there, and then your hand just goes in your pocket and stays there. Are you hearing? Be generous. Be generous. I know you're young and slow, but give yourself a treat from time to time. A lot of people, when they go to a restaurant, they don't buy the food. They buy the price. You understand? So they don't look at the side of the food. They just look at the price. 200. 120. Hey, this one. And they now go back. What is this? Come on. Okay, tell your neighbor, I like this Naija boy. This Naija boy is telling the truth. I'll go back to the food. This is it. Send out, occasionally, just send out rich signals to yourself. Are you hearing me? You're not trying to impress anybody. You're just sending a message to your brain that I am successful. All right? You're sending that message to your brain. Do that from time to time. Okay? And it's very, very, very important. And then finally, first thing, what do you do with business cards? What do you do with business cards? I've seen too many people fail on this one. Because most people, when they have business cards, you know what they do? They have this little black book where they keep all their business cards. They just put it there. Guilty as charged. And then, you don't look at it again. Let me tell you, every time somebody gives you a business card, it did not drop from heaven. They spent money to make that card, isn't it? Yes. So every time somebody gives you a card, that's why the Asians, the Japanese, they do it with such reverence. Because I'm giving you an investment. Okay? Now when you take it, that means somebody has invested something in you. What do you do? Within 48 hours, drop that person an email. Dear so and so, it was nice meeting you at so and so. Because I meet a lot of people, I have forgotten. I look forward to opportunities we can pursue in future. Warm regards, Wale. When you send that, there's a 95% probability that that person will reply. Isn't it? Once that person replies, you have established a line of communication. And then from that point, you just nurture. You see, when you meet that person, the person is not yet in your network. The person is a contact. You must convert from contact to network by nurturing. Okay? And I cannot tell you the amount of business that has come my way simply because I make friends with people. The first time I met Carol many years ago, I would call her, she won't pick the phone. You think I care? Me, I'm not even. Me, I just continue. Me, and I was not stalking. I was not stalking. Because I have a wife that I fear. And I've always said, the fear, now guys, the fear of your wife is the beginning of wisdom. But you know what? I tell you, just keep the communication flowing. Just keep it flowing. And in times to come, you realize that, hey, we've broken all sorts of barriers and now we have a relationship. Did you get something today?